sign. I told you guys earlier about how they were struggling in comparison to last year and the year before to sell season tickets. I think the Indiana Fever and the WNBA have diminished the star power of Caitlin Clark. You've probably seen the NBC commercials promoting their coverage of the WNBA, and they featured and centered around A'ja Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu, and Paige Beckers.
Look at those empty seats. That's not just any preseason game. That's the Indiana Fever playing Nigeria in Indianapolis on a Friday night. The same arena that couldn't keep people away last season. The same city that packed every seat when Caitlin Clark came to town. And now, rows and rows of empty chairs. This isn't normal. This is a warning sign that something has gone catastrophically wrong with the WNBA's biggest opportunity in league history.
The reason for the season can't get promoted by NBC.
It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. How's A'ja Wilson on the cover? How's Paige on there? You already see all the nonsense they do with putting Kelsey Mitchell front and center on everything for the Fever. They have ruined it. They've gone out of their way to blow this thing.
Struggling now to sell out games or to fill up arenas when they previously hadn't had any problems at all.
Yeah.
I think they've damaged the brand of Caitlin.
Here's what makes this so damning. Season ticket sales for the Fever are down compared to last year. Not flat, not slightly lower, down significantly. And we're talking about a team that just drafted the most marketable player in women's basketball history. Think about that backwards logic for a second. You add a generational talent who broke every viewership record in college basketball, and your ticket sales go down. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens when you actively work against your own success. The numbers tell a brutal story. NBC just released their promotional campaign for WNBA coverage this season. 3 players front and center: A'ja Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu, and Paige Beckers. Notice who's missing: the one player who actually moved the needle, the one who brought casual fans into arenas. Caitlin Clark isn't just absent from the promotion, she's been deliberately excluded from the marketing push for a league she basically saved from complete irrelevance.
Style of play, the way that team has been constructed, the way they're trying to hype up Kelsey Mitchell. I like Kelsey Mitchell. Love her to death. Really do. I mean, think she's a great player. But if they couldn't figure out a way to focus in on Caitlin Clark, rather than trying to promote Kelsey Mitchell or Aaliyah Ball, get rid of them all. You're running a business.
I'm rolling with you, Whitlock. I'm rolling. Pack them all up if you have to. I don't give a damn. The fact that it's almost like the league has done everything they can to shun people away from the biggest star in their sport, it doesn't really make sense. That doesn't.
And it's not just NBC. Look at how the Fever themselves have handled their marketing. Every promotional image, every social media graphic, every piece of content, they're centering Kelsey Mitchell. Now Kelsey Mitchell is a good player. She's been with the organization for years, she's talented, she's earned her spot on that roster. But she's not the reason people are buying tickets. She's not the reason viewership exploded last season. And pretending otherwise is organizational malpractice. This is the complete opposite of how every other professional sports league operates. When the NBA discovered Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, they didn't try to make it about everyone equally. They leaned into those stars. When Michael Jordan emerged, the league didn't say, well, we need to promote all 30 teams fairly. They understood that star power lifts all boats. LeBron James didn't get hidden in promotional materials because it might hurt other players' feelings. The league understood basic marketing. You ride the wave while it's there.
In other sports, they actually lean into the stars. This is the only sport I've seen where they do the complete opposite. And it has to be one big, it's all of us. It's not just you, it's all of us type of situation. It's stupid.
Caitlin Clark is the business. You're undermining the business by destroying Caitlin Clark's star power and trying to build around. We got a whole team and everybody's a part of this. It's not the way men operate. It's not the way the NBA has operated. When they discover a star,
he's saying the same.
Johnson, a Larry Bird, an Isaiah Thomas, a Michael Jordan, and Allen Iverson, LeBron James, they lean into that star power to draw in the rest of the.
But the WNBA has chosen a different path. They've constructed a team around Caitlin Clark that doesn't showcase her strengths. They've built a system that minimizes her impact rather than maximizing it. And the results are starting to show. Preseason viewership is down compared to last year. Arena attendance is softer. The buzz that surrounded the league 12 months ago has noticeably faded. This isn't speculation. These are measurable declines happening in real time. The new collective bargaining agreement is about to kick in. Some players will be making six figures. Some will be pulling down seven-figure salaries for the first time in WNBA history. And here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody in the league wants to acknowledge. They didn't earn that money. Not through ticket sales, not through television ratings, not through jersey sales or merchandise revenue. That money is coming from an agenda-driven investment structure that doesn't require profitability or
WNBA has done the exact opposite, and it's now starting to show up. They are succeeding in killing Caitlin Clark because they don't care. They don't have to earn any of this. They haven't earned any of it. These players in this collective bargaining agreement where they're about to be paid seven-figure salaries, some of these players, they didn't earn that. They don't deserve that. Their play isn't good enough.
And a lot of people feel that way. The games aren't good enough. At least they're trying to fix the refs. It used to look like they was in jail. They was playing prison ball a couple seasons ago, and even last year, everybody was getting hurt. They trying to improve the product by improving the referees, but it's not on the referees to make layups. I'm watching these preseason.
Think about the comparison to Netflix. Netflix can produce content that nobody watches, documentaries filled with questionable narratives, movies that bomb with audiences, and it doesn't matter because Netflix isn't really selling entertainment. They're selling a message. They're promoting specific ideological positions. The actual quality of the product is secondary to the cultural agenda being pushed. And as long as investors are willing to fund that agenda, profitability is optional. The WNBA operates under the same model. The league has been subsidized by the NBA for decades. It's never turned a profit. It's never had to justify its existence through actual market performance. And now, with this new CBA, players are getting paid like they've built something valuable, when in reality, they've been handed a platform they didn't create and can't sustain on their own merit.
Angry Black Lesbian League.
Wow.
Let me segue into my last
Man, you whipping up a pot of something with this one.
point about the WNBA. And Angel Reese isn't a lesbian, but she is an angry Black woman.
Oh,
and
whoa.
And, but she's not quite angry enough. I gotta show you these highlights from her last exhibition game. I believe they're playing the Washington Mystics. You gotta look. This is like a 40-second highlight or low light video of Angel Reese being one of the most unskilled basketball players we've ever seen. And I'm going to connect this to...
He said Angel Reese is one of the most unskilled basketball.
Now let's talk about the product on the court, because this is where the disconnect becomes impossible to ignore. Angel Reese is being marketed as one of the faces of the WNBA. She's getting major promotional pushes. She's being positioned as a star. And if you watch her play, if you actually sit down and evaluate her basketball skills, what you see is shocking. Watch those highlights. Missed layup after missed layup. No touch around the basket. No footwork, no finesse. Just raw athleticism with almost no skill development. Yes, she can rebound. That's her one legitimate NBA-level skill. But everything else, it's genuinely hard to watch. And this is supposed to be a cornerstone player for a league that's asking fans to pay premium prices and take them seriously as elite athletes.
To what's going on with Caitlin Clark and why I think, like, hey, the momentum that this league had is about to be destroyed. Because, one, they won't promote Caitlin Clark. They've constructed a team in Indiana that won't highlight or showcase Caitlin Clark.
That's true.
And now the players, some of them are going to be getting paid 6- and 7-figure salary, high 6-figure, low 7-figure salaries. And you're going to be treated to one of the biggest stars in the WNBA, Angel Reese, who is as unskilled a basketball player as I've ever seen. Yes, she can rebound. Yes, she can, but she is completely unskilled. No one wants to see this. No one wants to
I agree. Don't nobody want to watch y'all miss layups all day. I'm going to be honest with y'all. Don't nobody want to see that.
pay for this. This is...
Here's why this matters more now than it did 2 years ago. The economic situation for working-class and middle-class Americans has deteriorated significantly. People are struggling with inflation. They're dealing with higher costs for everything from groceries to gas to housing. Discretionary income is tight. Entertainment budgets are getting cut. And in that environment, you're asking people to pay to watch basketball players who can't make layups collect seven-figure paychecks they demonstrably didn't earn through market performance? The optics are terrible. The timing is worse, and the WNBA seems completely oblivious to how this is going to be received. You can already see the backlash building on social media. The memes are brutal. The mockery is relentless. And unlike previous years when the league could dismiss critics as sexist or hateful, this time the criticism is coming from people who were genuinely excited about the product. People who wanted to support women's basketball. People who tuned in because of Caitlin Clark and then got turned off by everything surrounding her.
Nightmare scenario happening in the WNBA. This won't be tolerated this season. This will be mocked and memed, and I know that.
But like, why is she clapping on the floor like she did something? I just don't get it.
That's already been going on with Angel Reese, but these players will now be unlikable because they're overpaid. In this time when the working class, the upper middle class is all being destroyed, they're getting destroyed, and these basketball players that play like Angel Reese are getting paid seven figures. It won't work. It will not work. All right.
The pattern is unmistakable at this point. The WNBA had lightning in a bottle. They had a transcendent talent who brought mainstream attention to a league that had struggled for visibility for 25 years. And instead of building around that talent, instead of maximizing that opportunity, instead of doing what every successful sports league in history has done when they discover a star, they've actively worked to diminish her impact. Why? The cynical answer is that Caitlin Clark doesn't fit the preferred narrative. She's not the right demographic. She doesn't represent the image the league wants to project. She appeals to audiences that the WNBA's core constituency views with suspicion or outright hostility. And so rather than embrace the success she brought, they're trying to redistribute that attention to players who better align with their preferred identity politics.
That was a strong take. That was a strong take. I agree with a lot of the Caitlin Clark thing with the WNBA trying to not leaning into the biggest star. I agree with that. I haven't really, in all the other major sports leagues, they lean into the stars. This is the one league we've seen pretty much shun away their biggest star. And I also agree on the Angel Reese. I mean, yeah, she can rebound, but like watching her try to make layups 3 years later, it's a joke. It's a joke. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you.
Here's what makes this situation so significant. This isn't just about one player or one team or one season. This is about whether the WNBA can exist as a sustainable business or whether it's permanently going to be a subsidized platform for political messaging. Because those are fundamentally different enterprises with fundamentally different requirements. If you're trying to build a sustainable professional sports league, you do what works. You promote your stars. You put your best product on display. You make decisions based on what attracts fans and generates revenue. You understand that in a competitive entertainment marketplace, you need to give people a reason to choose your product over the thousands of other options available to them. But if you're running a political platform that happens to involve basketball, then profitability doesn't matter. Market performance is irrelevant. Fan preferences are secondary to ideological goals. And you can make decisions that actively hurt your business because the business isn't really the point. The message is the point. And as long as someone else is footing the bill, you can keep delivering that message regardless of whether anyone wants to receive it. The WNBA has clearly chosen the second path. They've decided that controlling the narrative is more important than growing the audience. They've determined that maintaining ideological purity is worth sacrificing commercial success. And we're now watching that decision play out in real time, with empty seats and declining viewership, and a fan base that feels betrayed by an organization that seemed to be turning a corner, but has instead doubled down on the same failed approach that kept them irrelevant for decades.
Lock you up, stir the pot.
All right, welcome back. I got a couple things about the WNBA I want to get off my chest, and then we're going to move to the Harmony channel for a discussion with myself and Shamika Michelle and Dre Baldwin. But let me get these WNBA takes off. I don't know if you guys caught this, but the Indiana Fever, I believe on Friday or Thursday, played Nigeria in an exhibition game in Indianapolis, and there were a boatload of empty seats.
Think about what the Fever have done with their roster construction. They had the #1 pick. They got Caitlin Clark. And then they built a team that doesn't maximize her abilities. They didn't surround her with shooters who could benefit from her passing. They didn't construct a system that highlights her court vision and playmaking. Instead, they've created a situation where she's fighting for touches, where her impact is minimized, where the offense doesn't flow through her strengths. Compare that to how the Sparks handled Candace Parker, how the Mercury built around Diana Taurasi, how the Storm constructed their roster to maximize Sue Bird's abilities. Those organizations understood that when you have a generational talent, you build around that talent. You don't try to make them fit into a system designed for lesser players. You create the system that lets them shine, because when they shine, everyone benefits. The Fever have done the opposite. And it's not incompetence, it's a choice. It's a deliberate decision to prioritize team equality over individual excellence. To make sure no one player gets too much credit or attention or acclaim. To maintain a collective identity, even if it means sacrificing winning and entertainment value and fan engagement. And look, there's a certain ideological appeal to that approach. The idea that everyone contributes equally, that success is shared, that individual stardom is less important than team cohesion. These are values that resonate with certain worldviews. But they're not values that build successful professional sports franchises.
It's not the way men operate. It's not the way the NBA has operated. When they discover a star, a Magic
He's saying the same.
Johnson, a Larry Bird, an Isaiah Thomas, a Michael Jordan, and Allen Iverson, LeBron James, they lean into that star power to draw in the rest of the fan base. The WNBA has done the exact opposite, and it's now starting to show up.
The referee situation is worth examining too, because it's one of the few things the league has actually tried to improve. Last season was brutal. Games looked like prison yard basketball. Players were getting hurt constantly. The physical play was out of control. It was genuinely hard to watch at times because the officiating was so inconsistent and the game flow was so choppy. To their credit, the WNBA has worked on this. They've brought in better referees. They've tightened up the rules enforcement. They've tried to create a more watchable product by reducing the excessive physicality that made games feel more like combat sports than basketball. And you can see the improvement in preseason games. The flow is better, the game is cleaner, there's more actual basketball being played. But here's the problem. Better officiating can't fix fundamentally flawed basketball. You can call the game perfectly, and if the players can't execute basic skills, it's still not going to be compelling entertainment. You can eliminate all the cheap shots and hard fouls, and if the players are missing layups and turning the ball over and displaying poor fundamentals, you're still not going to attract and retain casual fans. The referee improvement is treating a symptom while ignoring the disease. The disease is that the overall skill level in the WNBA is not where it needs to be to justify the hype and the salaries and the promotional push. And no amount of better officiating can change that fundamental reality.
It's left and right, like they're fifth graders. It makes no sense.
To justify that, Caitlin Clark was. But because this league is financed through an agenda, no different than Netflix. It doesn't matter if Netflix content is horrible. Doesn't matter if their movies and documentaries are filled with lies and they're horrible and don't connect. There's a message that Netflix wants to promote. Girl power, lesbian power, alphabet mafia power, white men are the devil power. White men are the devil power. Yeah, is that right? Did I say that right? I think I said that right. What do they make a dime? And the WNBA benefiting from the exact same thing. They want to promote angry lesbians.
Damn. And you be going there, man.
Let's go back to the Netflix comparison, because it's more apt than it might initially seem. Netflix can produce cuties and face massive backlash and lose subscribers and generate terrible publicity. And it doesn't fundamentally change their business model. They can create documentaries that are factually questionable and ideologically driven and widely mocked, and the money keeps flowing. Because Netflix has built a subscriber base large enough and diversified enough that they can absorb those failures while pursuing their broader content strategy. The WNBA doesn't have that luxury. They don't have a massive existing fan base that will stick around through bad decisions. They don't have decades of brand loyalty to fall back on. They don't have international markets generating billions in revenue. They had one chance, one golden opportunity with Caitlin Clark, to break through to mainstream audiences and build something sustainable. And they're squandering it. The angry lesbian league comment is inflammatory, but it's pointing at something real. There's a specific cultural identity that the WNBA has cultivated over the years, and that identity appeals to a specific audience. But that audience is not large enough to support a professional sports league. It's never been large enough. That's why the league has required NBA subsidies for its entire existence. That's why television ratings have been abysmal outside of Caitlin Clark games. That's why arena attendance has been poor outside of specific markets. Caitlin Clark represented a bridge to a broader audience. She brought in fans who don't typically watch the WNBA. She generated interest from people who aren't part of that core constituency. She created an opportunity to expand the tent and grow the fan base and build something bigger than what the league had been. And instead of embracing that opportunity, the league has actively pushed those new fans away by making it clear that they're not the preferred audience.
I'm not going that far. But hey, he stand on his business. He don't care about nothing. But I agree. They have done everything they can to kill off the cash cow for the league. They've done everything they can to try to make this thing about everybody else but who it should be about. And I think you're starting to see the ripple effect of that. You're starting to see less fans in the arena. The ratings are going to go down. You already seen the ratings went down from the preseason opener this year compared to what it was the year before. But hey,
Caitlin Clark's not one of them, so she's being diminished and destroyed so that they can turn the league over to Paige Beckers and AZ Fudd and all the rest.
The season ticket sales decline is the canary in the coal mine. These are people who were excited enough about the product to commit money in advance. These are fans who wanted to support the team, and they're walking away. They're not renewing. They're not buying in for another year. That's not a good sign. That's not a temporary blip. That's a fundamental rejection of what the organization is selling. And you can't blame this on ticket prices, or scheduling, or competition from other entertainment options. The Fever had massive demand last season. They could have sold out every game twice over when Caitlin Clark was the story. The demand was there. The interest was real. The market was responding. And then the organization made a series of decisions that killed that momentum. They let players and media personalities attack their star. They allowed a narrative to develop that Caitlin Clark fans were somehow problematic or unwelcome. They constructed a team that doesn't showcase her abilities. They marketed other players instead of leaning into their biggest draw. They created an environment where the people who were most excited about the product felt alienated and dismissed. That's not an accident, that's a choice. And choices have consequences. The consequence here is empty seats at preseason games and declining season ticket sales, and a general sense that the magic is gone. The Caitlin Clark phenomenon was supposed to be the beginning of something bigger. Instead, it's starting to look like a brief spike that the league couldn't or wouldn't capitalize on.
but like, why is she clapping on the floor like she did something? I just don't get it.
That's already been going on with Angel Reese, but these players will now be unlikable because they're overpaid. In this time when the working class, the upper middle class is all being destroyed, they're getting destroyed, and these basketball players that play like Angel Reese are getting paid 7 figures. It won't work. It will not work. All right.
Wow. That was a strong take. That was a strong take. I agree with a lot of the Caitlin Clark thing with the WNBA trying to not leaning into the biggest star. I agree with that. I haven't really, in all the other major sports leagues, they lean into the stars. This is the one league we've seen pretty much shun away their biggest star. And I also agree on the Angel Reese. I mean, yeah, she can rebound, but like watching her try to make layups 3 years later, it's a joke. It's a joke. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you.
So where does this leave us? The WNBA is about to enter a season where some players are making more money than they've ever made before, playing in front of smaller crowds than they've seen in years, producing a product that's being openly mocked on social media, with a star player who's been systematically diminished by her own league and organization. The economic context makes this even worse. People are struggling. They're making hard choices about where to spend their limited entertainment dollars. And the WNBA is asking them to pay premium prices to watch basketball players who miss layups while collecting 7-figure salaries they didn't earn through market performance. That's not a sustainable pitch. That's not a compelling value proposition. That's not how you build a fan base in a struggling economy. The contrast with the NBA is stark. NBA players are paid enormous salaries, but those salaries are justified by the revenue they generate. The league makes billions of dollars. The players produce a product that millions of people want to watch. The economic relationship makes sense. Fans pay for tickets and merchandise and streaming services. That money funds player salaries, and everyone